The door to the equipment bay at Veth Crossing was stuck. Not locked, stuck. The way things get when a frontier way station has been operational for 30 years and nobody's replaced the door track bearings. I put my shoulder into it, heard the grind of grit on metal, and it opened. The smell hit first, warm stone and something older than anything I could name. Not unpleasant. Ancient the way certain places are just ancient before you know why. I'd done 412 welfare inspections in 28 years. Relic fauna, category 1 through 5, every transit corridor in the outer ring. I knew what a neglected specimen looked like. I knew what bad husbandry looked like. I had the form open on my board before the door finished swinging. The creature was in the far corner, in a nest of insulation sheeting and thermal pads stacked and folded so carefully it looked like someone had made a chair for it. Moss-gray scales, compact body no longer than 2 meters from blunt snout to tail tip, long neck curved back so the head rested near the dorsal ridge. Folded wings, amber-ridged, showing age in the slight translucence of the membrane. The left eye was clouded. The right eye was open and looking at me with the particular quality of patience that I'd only ever seen in things that had been watching the world longer than the world knew. The file said, Category 3 biological relic, provenance uncertain, unclaimed, welfare status, degraded at intake, condition unverified, recommend transfer to supervised facility. The file was 7 years out of date. I could tell that from across the room. I walked closer. The creature didn't move. The scales were clean, not polished, not fussed over, but clean in the way of something that was regularly, matter-of-factly cared for. The thermal pads were the commercial grade, the kind you'd use for a cargo manifest with temperature requirements. I recognized the stacking pattern, maximized coverage at the shoulder joint where the wing met the back, which was exactly where a dragon of this configuration would lose heat fastest. Someone had looked that up. There was a small water unit beside the nest, the type used in clinic environments, set to slow drip, and a feeding dish, deep-sided, narrow at the rim with traces of ground protein cake, the correct formulation for large-bodied scaled fauna in sedentary rest. I hadn't prescribed any of this. The station manager hadn't requested a care protocol. There wasn't a registered caretaker on the system at all. I stood there with my board and my form, and I didn't write anything for a while. The keeper found me like that. His name was Pel Os, and he was a lean man in his late 50s with the kind of face that had done a lot of weather. He ran the fuel and maintenance services at Veth Crossing, which meant he managed 4 staff, 2 refueling rigs, a parts inventory the size of a medium closet, and whatever came through on the transit corridor. He was holding a mug of something, and he did not look alarmed to find an inspector standing in his equipment bay. He looked, if anything, mildly tired in the way of a man who has too many things to manage, and has simply added one more. "Welfare inspection," he said. "Yes. She eat this morning." I looked at him. "The old one," he said, as if that were sufficient. "She'll sometimes go 3 days if the heating strip in the south wall has been fluctuating. I fixed the strip last month, so she should be eating regular again, but she's been slow." I looked down at my board. "There's no registered welfare mandate for this animal, Mr. Os. No care log, no assigned caretaker." "I know." He moved past me toward the water unit, checked the drip rate, adjusted it by a quarter turn. "I put in a notification 7 years ago when she turned up, got a form back saying she was unclaimed status and to report any change in condition." He set down his mug and looked at me. Didn't seem right to just leave her. "So you've been providing care without a mandate?" "I've been providing care," he said simply, as though the second half of the sentence wasn't a relevant distinction. I spent the next 40 minutes going through everything. He walked me through it without notes because he didn't need them. He had adapted the feeding schedule in year 2 when he noticed she was ignoring the standard protein ratio, did some reading, found a paper on dietary metabolic change in elder stage scaled fauna, adjusted the formulation. The thermal stack had gone through 3 iterations. He'd moved her twice, once when a fuel leak made the east side of the bay unusable for 6 days, once when he noticed she was orienting toward the morning light and the corner she was in got none. He didn't phrase any of this as achievement. He phrased it as observing a thing, and then doing what the thing seemed to need. "Does she have a name?" I asked. He considered this with the seriousness the question seemed to earn. "The old one," he said. "She came with a tag number. I stopped using it." The right eye found me again. The patience in it was immeasurable. I filed my report standing in the bay because I wasn't going to be able to write it anywhere else. I wrote what I'd found: conditions stable, weight appropriate, feeding and hydration maintained, thermal management improvised but effective, care log absent but care itself continuous and demonstrably competent for 7 years. No mandate. No authorization. No flag filed except the original intake notification. No request for compensation or recognition of any kind. I recommended the welfare status be reclassified to stable, active care, informal keeper, recommend formal registration. Then I sent it. It came back in 6 minutes. Not from the regional welfare office. Not from the Transit Corridor Administrative Board, who would normally have processed a reclassification request inside of 2 to 6 standard days. The response routing code I did not recognize, and I have been in this system for 28 years. I read it twice before I was confident I was reading it correctly. It was in formal Draveth High Register. I have a reading competency in it, enough to get through most official communications. But I had to work carefully through the title sequence, because I had never seen those particular designations applied outside of historical texts. The creature did not have a tag number, as far as the Draveth Ancestor Circle was concerned. The creature had a name that took 4 lines to write in full. She was the 3rd eldest of the recognized line of Voreth Saul, and her presence at a location constituted, under the Charter of Living Lineage, a formal indication of that location standing within the Circle's record. She had been at Veth Crossing for 7 years, 4 months, and 19 days. The Circle had been watching that whole time, watching to see what the station did with her. The response formally registered Pel As under the title Voreth Kessin, the old Draveth term, which translates to something between the one who keeps the light burning and the one the line chose. His name was now in the Circle's record. The station was a recognized site. A formal delegation would arrive within 30 days to complete the documentation. I read the whole thing, and then I stood in the bay for a while, not doing anything in particular. Pel As was watching me from the corner where he'd been tidying the feed supplies. "Problem with the report?" he asked. "No," I said, "no problem." I looked at the old one. She had moved not by much, just enough to orient her head toward Pel As's side of the bay. The right eye was resting on him. The patience in it was still immeasurable, but it was different now, in the way that a familiar thing looks different once you know what it means. He hadn't noticed. He was folding a thermal pad with the careful economy of a man who knows how to make supplies last. I made a note in my report: keeper unaware of full status. Recommend Circle delegation brief him directly. Then I closed the form, picked up my board, and walked back to the door with the stuck track. Behind me, I heard the soft sound of the old one settling deeper into her nest. I put my shoulder into the door on the way out. It ground open the same as it had coming in. Some things don't change, and some things have been decided for 7 years and 4 months and 19 days, and you just happen to walk in today and find out.